It's a pleasure to be able to just be basically someone who gets to introduce the real talent in the room. So my name is Zach Ringelstein. I am the VP of Strategic Partnerships at Renaissance Learning. If you guys know the STAR assessment or Accelerated Reader, Accelerated Math, maybe I'm seeing nods. We have like a lot of traction in 44,000 schools. I actually was a teacher. I taught for 4 years. I taught for 3 years in public schools in Phoenix, for a year at an international school in East Africa, and then there had this like idea and actually didn't even know that the ed tech scene existed. And thought, oh, I'll just build technology for my students. And lo and behold, we started a business, sold it to Renaissance, and here I am. But really, it's a pleasure. Yesterday, I had the opportunity to watch our first 10 innovators speak. And I have to say, I'm just really interested in school model, school reform, and it was really, like my head was churning all night long, thinking that really that was the best session that I went to all day. So I'm really looking forward to seeing what ideas you guys have, what you guys have invented, what's working, and you guys are really in for a treat. So I'm just gonna quickly say that GSV took this feedback from last year's session saying, you invited us superintendents, you invited us administrators, you invited some teachers, but we never had an opportunity to showcase our talent. So a lot of credit goes to GSV for actually welcoming that feedback and then putting it into practice this year. So everyone should give a little bit of a round of applause for Courtney, who put this whole thing together. Where is she? Courtney. All right, she left, but all right, that's fine. And then, of course, Deborah and she'll be here. I'll make sure. Don't worry. I'll connect you. And then just yesterday, actually, this hashtag got tons of traction. So it would be really great if, for everybody who's not presenting, if you could go on your Twitter and hashtag, it's GSVCWIS. And what's really great about that is that you have feedback. You give these guys feedback. You know, you can say whatever you want, right? Positive or negative. Okay. Okay. So other than that, we're just going to get right into it. Just a couple of rules of the game. We yesterday had yellow cards, and we will again. So our friend over here, I'm sorry, Tyler? Ty is going to be holding up a yellow at 4 minutes and a red at 5. Because we want everyone to speak, we're going to be kind of strict about it. We're not going to play music or anything, but we'll, it's not that funny, but we will make sure that everyone gets a chance. And I'll be sitting here right behind you, so. So just without further ado, the easiest name to say of all of them, Darryl Adams, the superintendent of Coachella Valley Unified School District, is going to be talking about Wi-Fi access. So thanks.
Coachella's in the house. Make you want to scream and shout. Coachella in the house, and there ain't no doubt. All right, I'm Darryl Adams, the servant leader for Coachella Valley Unified School District. Some call me the rock and roll superintendent, but some call me Dr. Love. And I want to spread the love in the room today through connectivity, what we've done for our students. We began to transform this school district of 20,000 students, of which 100% are on free and reduced lunch, 98% are Latino, 68% are English language learners, 10% are probably undocumented, but we don't care where they're born, we care where they need to go. We went to their parents and said, we need to transform this school district to a 21st century digitized education system. They agreed to tax themselves to do it. 67% of them said yes. So every student from preschool to high school now have their own individual iPad. What we found out then was we need to build the infrastructure at the schools. State of the art. Cisco equipment, used companies that came in, built the best state of the art broadband system, probably in California. More work to do. They go home, 30% of our students didn't have access. Because we have trailer parks all throughout our district, 1,250 square miles. We're larger than the state of Rhode Island. What's the solution? We have 100 buses out there. Put a route on the bus. Park them in neighborhoods where there's no connectivity. All of a sudden, data usage went up quadruple what we had seen. All of a sudden, we had eliminated the digital divide. Instead of leave no child behind, it was leave no child offline. One of the poorest, yes, that's rhyme too, I gotta do that. I gotta work on that one. One of the poorest school districts in America, now recognized by President Obama, because every student have their device and connectivity, and now the family is now connected. It has brought that community together. It's like a dream come true for me. I'm so honored to serve them. Those students are doing things I never thought possible. Robotics, aviation academies. You know, they're doing coding. Students are just going beyond what we thought imaginable. Now they have a college preparatory curriculum. Every student now would be able to go to a 4-year school in California. Did you know we track kids in California? Some get a college prep curriculum, some don't. And I think that's educational malpractice. We have eliminated that in our district. Students are moving ahead. They're learning. We have them in career academies, wall to wall. And we teach them about citizenship, not worried about where they're born, but about where they need to go. So we have transformed our district. We look forward to seeing what's going to happen in the future for these students. They have to be connected. If your students are connected, find a way. I made the joke that we would put a route on a pigeon if we have to and fly them around the neighborhood. I did get a few calls from PETA, so I've changed that. We're going to use drones now. Fly them around the neighborhood. Make sure students are connected. If they need a hotspot, we'll give them that too. Our next goal, why can't we be our own internet service provider? Why do I have to go to a Charter Communications or Time Warner? Every student in America should have a device, and they should have connectivity. And school districts should be allowed to give them that connectivity, become our own internet service provider. I want internet independence. Free me from those profit-making companies who sometimes forget it's not about profit, it's about people. And we are willing to stand up for that. I'm willing to fight for that. I'm willing to go to the state legislature or the Congress and say, if you want America to truly reach its promise and its potential, every student needs to be educated in America, and they need to have access to devices and connectivity to compete in a global stage. Thank you so much.
All right, you've heard it from the rock and roll superintendent. I see that, actually. All right. No, seriously, thank you. Got chills during part of that, so thank you for your message. So next up, we are going to welcome the founder of the Incubator School. Her name is Sujata Bhatt, and she's going to talk about values-based ownership. So everyone, please welcome Sujata. Thanks.
Thank you. Going from this big macro thing to a very micro thing. The Incubator School is a Los Angeles Unified Pilot School. We're trying to innovate within the second largest school district in the country. Those of you who are in large school districts, you understand the trials and tribulations of that. Our mission is startup students, and that means our students launch startups in 8th grade. We're 6 through 9 this year. We'll keep adding a grade year till we get to 12. By 12th grade, they'll launch startups in the real world in Silicon Beach, which is the tech center of along the coast in Los Angeles. So our mission is startup students. We have a whole bunch of values. Boldness, integrity, tenacity, empathy. Then we have some other things like balancing, leading, and listening, adding value, creating opportunities. And I'm guessing that all of you guys have values and missions that are sitting on your walls and on your websites. And there's a big difference between what's hanging up there on the wall and how they actually become lived. And so this was a problem that we were banging our heads against. And what we've kind of discovered is everything is culture, and culture is a series of micro innovations. And so our mission is startup students. We're always thinking in terms of students first, and we kind of put our heads together and said, well, this is actually not a teacher problem. Let's make it a student ownership issue. And so we have our values, and we decided to start meeting with students, and they would create student portfolios where they, every 5 weeks, were gathering evidence of their boldness. Where did they step outside of their comfort zone? Their tenacity, their integrity, their empathy. When do they help people? They are thinking in terms of when do they add value on a daily basis within the school. Creating opportunities is like the gold standard. How do you really reach and create opportunities for others beyond yourselves? And they were going to create their own, they started creating their own presentations. We started this in January, it's only April. They start to document their daily lives and think of this in terms of evidence of them living these values that are our core culture. We found it's become powerful. We've just piloted it in one classroom so far as to test it out. Students are starting to come up and saying, can I give a seminar to people? And that's evidence of me creating opportunities for other people. Because we do a lot of very kind of teacher-led is very minimal. Students can Skillshare with each other. Students can have student-run seminars. They can request one-on-ones with teachers. They can request seminars with teachers. So students keep coming up with ways that they can serve. And then they document the process through testimonials. They have to have statistical evidence. They have to have anecdotal evidence. They have to have factual evidence and video testimonials, and they love that. We're talking about 6th graders where we're piloting it, and they go and get testimonials from each other, and we have these conversations about, well, it's not just your friends. You really need to show that you've created value, and it's really shifting the culture in our school. And so we found that this is one micro innovation that helps turn this into a more student-centered world and makes our values lived values rather than just values that sit on the wall or sit on the website. And just in terms of data, in 2 months, we do student surveys every month, and one of our questions is, I address real-world, meaningful, and high standards of excellence, and that has moved 7.6% in 2 months. So not presenting a final perspective, but just this is how we iterate, and I think it's really useful. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sujata. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this, but I want to just say that Zach Malaman, who runs Student Voices in the back, and I think some of those principles might relate, so you guys should connect. It's a nonprofit working on some of those things. Next up, we are going to have Eric Chagala. There he is. He is the principal from Vista Innovation and Design Academy, and he's going to speak about engagement. Welcome up, Eric. Yeah, fan club. All right.
So the great thing about summits like this is it gives us an opportunity to connect the dots of all of our different stories. So whether we're a venture capitalist or an entrepreneur, a school leader, or working with a nonprofit, the reason why we are all here is to help get our students towards more progress for their futures in our economy. And so I hope that through my story, what I'm going to share, some of the dots for this week will help be connected for you. So the story of our school, like many of the people presenting, our students, more of them are below the poverty line than above it. More of them are traditionally underserved minority students than not. More of our students know people who are either in jail or have gone to jail than they do know people who are in college or have gone to college. And if you take their teachers out of their life, that disparity in ratio gets even larger. And so what we're working on is we had the opportunity to do a school transformation with our superintendent, Devin Vidishka, up in Vista. We're about 30 miles north of here. And we took a school, low performing, all the issues and sanctions under No Child Left Behind that you could imagine. And we wanted to create a new hope and a new opportunity for kids. We wanted to shift the paradigm of what can be done for kids in a neighborhood. And so what that looked like is we started with looking at historical data, because what happens, especially in California a lot of times under No Child Left Behind, is that the worse the kids are, the more help they need, we pile really good intentioned interventions on them. But in the process of that, we go from school to jail. And we talk a lot about the school to jail pipeline. Well, I mean like turning school into jail, because there's no discussion around the strengths, the interests, the values, the hopes, the potential, the real life connections of any of the kids in the school. And what we looked at was, as these well-intentioned interventions, as more of them increased, the academic achievement of the kids was actually decreasing, and the discipline was going through the roof. Kids were self-medicating on drugs in the bathrooms. They felt like they had no connection. There was no respect for the system, and so they were fighting. And so we decided in the school transformation, we need to develop a brand new way of looking at these well-intentioned interventions. And our first intervention is going to become engagement. Engagement is what we are going to work on with these kids. And so what that looks like in our school is it's a two-prong approach. The first is, I like to call it, a pedagogy of creativity. And so you hear a lot about buzzwords and project-based learning and PBL, and there's all this stuff out there. So what we did is we developed a more project-based learning environment. I'm not a PBL dude, because what's cool and unique about it is we embrace PBL, and our orientation to it is through design thinking. So we're taking this design base for what we're trying to do and engage kids, and at the heart of design thinking is empathy. It's about pulling out stories. It's about determining the needs of users, finding out what makes you tick and what's it like to walk in your shoes. And we embed that in the core areas. So it's historical empathy and history. It's really deep and rich character analysis and literature. It's how do we solve the problems of a handicapped person through our science and engineering courses, and for mathematics to be a base and a foundation for being able to do all those things. The second way we look at it is through, well, it's not just the kids that need to be engaged. We are in a human business. No one ever says that. The state of California has never told us that teaching and learning is a human business, but it is. And so we knew we had to engage the adults as well as the kids. Because if teachers are uninspired, if they're not excited, if they don't jump out of bed to go to work in the morning, then the experience of school will suck for the kids. And that is not fair, and that is not what any of us need. So in this design approach, we looked for what can really anchor us in design. So we said, let's develop some new classes. Let's get rid of the double periods of math and the double periods of English, and let's get rid of the last period of the day that was built just for more interventions. Let's build design classes and have them do one of three intentional things. Intentionally foster and build student creativity, intentionally build the technical skill of kids, so that they can go and innovate, they can actually do something, or go deeply into the design process. And then we said, teachers, what have you always wanted to do with kids that you've never been allowed to? That fits within this construct. Go and do it. And it's made all the difference. So our results right now, so we don't look at SBAC because I think it's stupid sorry. Yeah, retract that. We're not looking at state testing data as our main driver of what we're doing right now. What we looked at is the engagement data. 92% reduction in suspensions. This is in 1 year. Kids didn't change, adults didn't change. 92% reduction in suspensions from 7 to 0 mandatory expulsions, 80% reduction in classroom referrals, which means that the learning environment stopped being disrupted by kids screwing around, and average daily attendance went up. Because we know that schools have the power to either perpetuate or to change the status quo of a neighborhood. And we're going to change it.
Nice work. Nice work. Woo! All right. Okay. So we've got the sharks. No, I really the passion of that is well heard, and I really like what you said about being human. I mean, I think we neglect that so often. So we talked about students owning things, about pigeons carrying Wi-Fi, and now humans really thinking about human capital and talent in a more meaningful way. So I mean, literally, we're building the best schools in this session. So with that, thank you. And we're going to welcome up Barton Dassinger, the principal of Cesar Chavez Multicultural Academy, and he's going to be talking about centralized data collection. Everyone.
So many of you are here today because you are a consumer of educational technology, right? Most of you? Yes? Do you ever wonder about the effectiveness of the products that you're using and spending more and more money on each year? Have you ever wondered, does growth on an external education product correlate to the assessments that you're using? Does the correlation look different by different student subgroups? Within a product, which variables are most closely correlated to student growth? Can any of you confidently answer those questions? We're spending more and more money each year. So in the Chicago Public Schools, we haven't been able to answer those questions either, because until very recently, we had no method for collecting data from EdTech products used at our over 550 schools. We have our existing method for purchasing allows schools to purchase different products at each school individually. It's a very decentralized structure. That lack of centralization, however, has prevented effectiveness analysis of the EdTech products across the district. So I decided to begin solving this problem by creating a school-level prototype of an automated data integration system at Chavez Elementary School. We established a nightly or weekly automated data extract from 7 different internal systems. So think about your student information systems, your diverse learner collection systems, bilingual information, as well as 6 different external systems, your educational technology products, and maybe other testing sites. We integrated these extracts into a single source shared with Chavez teachers, eliminating needing different reporting suites for different information while simultaneously providing historical trends in student information. This automated data integration system has provided teachers with one place where they can see all of that. It's also allowed us to begin evaluating software program effectiveness against the same external evaluations that serve district accountability purposes. Putting this information into the hands of teachers has been one component of a data-driven culture that has led Chavez to being in the top 30 of all district and charter schools in Chicago for the last 2 years, despite being in a neighborhood with the second highest homicide rate in Chicago. I'm currently working with the district to ensure we can scale this across all 600 of our schools. We've analyzed the top software spend over the last 5 years and identified that there's 12 companies representing between 75 and 80% of the total spend. We've been in contact with these companies to establish a system that will allow us to analyze EdTech, establishing a secure file transfer protocol, reviewing sample data, creating data dictionaries for each company, and agreeing to an ideal file layout that will lead to eventual nightly automation with a data feed nightly. All the companies have come around, and they are now sharing their data about our students with the central office and not just individual school sites. And our research team is beginning to design models for analyzing this data once the automation is complete. We're building the structure to collect and store data in a way that makes evaluation a sustainable and ongoing possibility rather than a one-time data analysis. In an autonomous, decentralized district like CPS, our goal is to provide principals and teachers real-time data and information that will help guide instructional and purchasing decisions. I encourage all of you to establish an automated data integration system so that you too can begin analyzing the effectiveness of EdTech software and confidently be able to answer some of those questions I mentioned in the beginning. You can start by ensuring that the companies that sell you their products openly share with you all data that they collect about your students in a format that allows you to integrate with your current internal data systems. Thanks.
Barton. Well, thanks, Barton. We'll have to talk later, maybe, as a representative of Renaissance. So next up is Pat Deklotz, who willingly told us that her nickname is Porsche.
My maiden name.
Oh, I'm sorry. I got nickname. Got it. She is, how rude of me. She is the superintendent of Kettle, Moraine School District, and she'll be talking about micro-credentials and career pathways. So give it up for Pat.
Thank you. We've talked a lot about students and some about technology. I want to talk about teachers. So I'm here to share an exciting innovation that we've implemented in our district over the last 2 years, micro-credentials and career pathways. Before I begin, I want to tell you that I bring a different perspective. I didn't become an educator until I was 42 years old. And when I left my private sector career and stepped into my first classroom, I was awestruck with their tremendous talent pool that I had just joined. As I looked around, 68% of my colleagues had master's degrees. It was the most talented and the most paralyzed workforce I'd ever experienced. You see, I think that, in my humble opinion, is one of the major issues that we have to address as we think about education reform in America. Our teachers are harnessed and bridled to outdated, obsolete structures and processes. In Kettle, Moraine, micro-credentials and career pathways have unleashed my workforce and have done so in a way I had never anticipated, creating a culture that is committed to changing the world of education. So what is a micro-credential? Just what it sounds like. Micro, small, credential, certificate of accomplishment. They're discrete, bite-sized competencies based on research and best practice that, when demonstrated through artifacts of classroom work and evaluated by expert colleagues, result in a digital badge. And I'm going to give a shout out to Digital Promise and the partners that work with them because they are pioneering leadership in this micro-credential arena. In Kettle, Moraine, a result of a micro-credential is an increase in your compensation. It affects your base salary. The thing that's very great about micro-credentials is many times micro-credentials, or in all times, micro-credentials give my educators the opportunity to experience personalized, competency-based learning, often for the first time in their careers. It gives them the opportunity to experience what I'm expecting them to implement in their classrooms. And we all know how important modeling is for us to be able to take the next steps. As we look at personalized learning and what its impact is, over 80% of my teachers have engaged in this work, and over 51% of them have earned one or multiple micro-credentials. It's really changing the way they direct their learning path. And what's a career pathway? Well, in most education systems, you've got teachers, you've got administrators, and sometimes people go over to the dark side, right? And we laugh about that divide. We've introduced 3 additional roles that bridge that gap. Our educators hold 190-day contracts. The next step up is a lead educator. These individuals still have a full-time responsibility in the classroom, but they have a 200-day contract, recognizing the amount of effort they put in supporting professional development, coaching, mentoring, opening their classroom as a model of practice, and serving us as experts, right? Critical friends. After the lead educator, we have a role called a director of learning. These individuals are a foot in each world. Usually it's a 50-50 or 60-40 split where they're teaching and serving in administration, leading a team of 8 to 16 educators, usually content specific, in a team approach where they're doing the supervision and evaluation. After that, we have directors of small schools, schools of 200 or less, where that pattern is reversed, more time spent in administration, and administrators with 230 days. Why is that important? The benefits that we've seen: increased efficacy and agency among my teachers, broadened collective understanding of best practice, an incredibly exciting synergy and collaborative support of our district goals, expanded organizational capacity, but most importantly, deep relationships and building of trust. We are unleashing the sleeping giant of teacher capacity in Kettle, Moraine, and I'm firmly convinced that we are beginning to change the world. Thank you.
Please give it up for Pat. I got chills again. I just want to say it really resonated with me because when I stepped foot into my classroom, I actually never anticipated being a teacher. I never would have guessed how, I never had a moment where I didn't think I am among the most wonderful and committed group of people. And I think, there's a large misunderstanding in the public view. So thanks for sharing that and looking forward to talking after. So the next up is Thomas Gaffey, and he is the Chief Instructional Technologist at Building 21, and he's going to be talking about competency-based information systems. So everyone, please welcome up Thomas.
Thank you. Let me start by just asking you, forget about the word can't. Forget about the concept of it's impossible, just for a moment, and imagine what school could be like if the word school wasn't a building, it wasn't the walls of a classroom, it was a network of learning opportunities over an entire region. Imagine that a student participating in that model could forge and design their own pathway based on their interests, based on their passions. And imagine that the traditional structures that prohibit this kind of pathway-based learning were gone. Imagine that those prohibitive structures, which were, by the way, invented by an educational system designed to do one thing, which is put students into buckets. Bucket A, students that we didn't have to spend resources on. Bucket B, students that were going directly in the factories. And bucket B, the small, tiny number of students that could go to our prestigious universities. Those traditional structures, gone. Imagine grades, imagine courses, traditional courses, gone. Age-based grouping, thing of the past. Traditional grading, buried in the desert under a rock. No, get rid of the rock. It doesn't even deserve a rock, okay? So now, that's what we do. We, Building 21, partner with school districts to reimagine secondary education. That's our job. So the personal challenge that I had before we opened up our first school 3 years ago was to find an IT system that could do that. An IT system that was competency-based, that did not have traditional courses, traditional grades, age-based grouping structures, and that allowed students to manipulate it. Didn't really exist. So we had two choices: compromise and use a lot of the great tools that do exist, or do something that we were told never to do, which was design our own system. So that's what we did. So we have the first phase of that system done. It's a competency-based logging and tracking system for students and teachers. It's the first of many phases. But doing that, we learned a lot of things about what teachers and students need to do this specific work. And we started to experiment a little bit with, believe it or not, Google Sheets, creating data dashboards and visualization systems. And we accidentally kind of invented a really powerful, robust data dashboard system. With a push of a button, we could shoot dashboards out to all of our students and teachers, and with another push of a button, update with data from 6 or 7 different data systems that we have. And then we gave it away. It's open source. Everything that we do, in fact, is literally open source. We publish everything. We put everything on a shared Google Drive. We built our platform. We built on an open source platform, and Google Sheets is just a Google Sheet. I can email you a link. This is just phase 1. Okay? Now, there are 3 challenges that we experience in doing this work in a district of Philadelphia and Allentown, Pennsylvania. Struggle 1 is literally everything that we do that I just talked about, we need to convert back into those ridiculous traditional structures. Because a student needs to leave with a transcript and say to all the universities, hey, here's my transcript and GPA, we had to be very clever, and we did that. And I actually feel pretty proud and confident that we are converting without compromising. Challenge 2 is trying to be successful in despite our state and district instead of because of them. And challenge number 3, maybe not related to our IT system, but it permeates every aspect of what we do, is we are passionate about doing work in areas where students endure tragic rates of trauma and violence in their lives. And that makes this work almost impossible, but not quite impossible. So I want to ask you to listen about how bold of a move we are making with eliminating those traditional structures that none of us like. And then maybe when you get the opportunity to do that, you remember this talk and say, you know what? I'm going to eliminate these traditional structures from a factory model system that was designed to sort kids. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Thomas. Well, if we were all educated like that, what does that make us? Are we?
You're ready for a factory.
Oh, no. Okay. All right. Thank you, Thomas. Next up, we're having up here Ehab. Is that right? Ehab Jaleel. He is the executive director of Amana Academy Charter School, and today he's going to be talking about technology integration. So everyone, please give a round of applause for Ehab. All right.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ehab Jaleel. I'm the executive director of Amana Academy. We're a charter school in the city of Alpharetta, Georgia, which is 30 minutes north of Atlanta. And I'm here to share our story about how we became the first Kano computing academy in the world. Amana is in Alpharetta, and Alpharetta boasts 600 plus technology companies. And the Director of Economic Development, Peter Tokar, for the city, who's always trying to build a culture around technology, was intrigued with the Kano computing platform, which was developed. It's a Kickstarter company out of the UK. And he was intrigued by it, and he approached us with an opportunity that we really couldn't refuse. He came to us and said, I'm really interested in bringing this technology here into our city somehow. You're a charter school. You're going to be a lot easier to work with in the district. Are you interested? If I buy you 100 of these kits, will you agree to be in partnership with the developers over at Kano Computing in the UK? And so, of course, we took the opportunity. What ended up happening was really an amazing story for us, because we ended up we tasked a few of our 5th grade teachers. We wanted to start out small, so we went to 5th grade and said, you guys work with the developers over the summer to build out what the program's going to look like when it unfolds starting in the fall. The reason that Peter came to us, the gentleman in economic development, is because he knew that we were an expeditionary learning school. Expeditionary learning is a program that was developed by Harvard Graduate School of Education working with Outward Bound. And one of the key structures in the model is that it has long-term learning expeditions. These are thematic units that integrate across different disciplines and allow kids to really get authentic in terms of their learning. And so it was going to be an opportunity for us to integrate this technology directly into a learning expedition that wasn't even technology focused. It was a humanities expedition. In particular, the expedition that the 5th grade teachers picked was around the Civil War. So you're wondering, how do you use a Kano computer, which is a kit that kids build themselves, learn, and then they create on this kit. And I actually brought an example of the kit. This is what it looks like. So this is the Kano computer. It's got a keyboard. It's got this is the computer here that allows kids to build it themselves, and then they can use the trackpad here and so forth to manipulate the computer. They ended up using this in the Civil War in this manner. First, they ended up learning how to code on the computer, and then they designed Civil War battlegrounds using Minecraft on this computer. So in the process of, integrating and creating those battlegrounds, they were learning how to code. And so in addition to that, the president of Kano came to visit our school as part of the kickoff and ended up talking to the Technology Association of Alpharetta and so forth. And this process was one more reason why we just recently became STEM certified in the state of Georgia. There's only 30 schools out of 2,500 that are STEM certified in Georgia by the Department of Education, and we're the only K-8 school that's been STEM certified. And we definitely attribute this as one of the reasons for doing that, because of the integration that we're doing. What are we going to do next? Well, the district was really intrigued by this and now has decided to start to purchase some of these Kano kits for some of the district schools. And in addition to that, we're now going to start to extrapolate and go into 4th grade, possibly 3rd, and even into middle school grades with it. The kids absolutely love this kit. They even get stickers to personalize it and so forth, so that it becomes kind of their own. And we're really seeing a real boost in their ability in terms of coding and so forth. So we're really excited about this partnership, and we're hoping that other schools will be intrigued by it as well and partner with Kano. I'm not a spokesman for Kano in any way, but I have to tell you that this really does do something for kids. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, Ehab. I met someone randomly at dinner the other night who's doing maker-based things. It's exciting field. So last and definitely not least is is Miss Trace Tyvand.
Nice. You nailed it.
Yes. All right. She is the director of blended and online learning at Ben Blah Pine School, and she is going to be talking to you about flexible schooling today. So please, everyone, welcome Trace. All right.
Good job. Thank you. So there's a couple people in the room that have seen me present before that know that I can never just stand or sit still. And I, a second ago, got tempted to do this. Hey, Zach, can you ask me a question?
Sure. Where are you from?
No, I'm going to tell you the question.
Oh.
It's more like wedding vows. I'm going to say it, and then you're just going to say it back to me.
Okay. All right.
So Trace.
So Trace.
Flexible schooling.
Flexible schooling.
What have you done with it?
What have you done with it?
And how did you do it?
And how did you do it?
Thank you. I'm so glad you asked.
Anytime.
Flexible schooling. What have we done with it, and how did we do it? Ben Lapine School District is a K-12 district of 31 schools. I'm going to start walking. That's what I do. We have about 17,000 students. Our blended and online program is 12 years old. And in those 12 years, we've rolled out blended and online learning to over 15,000 students in over 35,000 courses with a 92% pass rate. And we've grown the program from under 100 users in the first year to over 3,000 users every year now. So with 20% of our district, 20% of our students now accessing flexible schooling options, some of them to supplement, some of them to fully replace schooling in our buildings, the flexible schooling options have literally transformed education as we knew it. Flexible schooling options are now a part of what we do. It's an integral part of what we offer as a district. It doesn't sound that exciting when I just say that, but where we are, it's a pretty big deal that it happens at all. And to have it at that size and scale, it's amazing. But what I want to tell you about is our one innovation that has made all of our online and blended enrollments personal and effective, and our one innovation that I think accounts for our exponential growth. But I have to warn you that the one innovation is so simple that, especially at this hour with the cocktail hour out there, you might be mad that you even spent 5 minutes of your life listening to me on this. However, it's also so true that if I didn't share it, nothing else that I could say about what we've done would even matter. When it comes to a successful blended and online program, you might buy devices, you might install apps, you might invest in the cloud. I keep feeling I'm going to fall off here, but I'm going to try not to. But with all of the technology and the solutions that are out there, I see one innovation always missing. And I don't know if you already know what it is. I've heard it said in so many different ways since I've been here on Sunday, and it's awesome to hear it from so many different people in different sectors. It's the human willingness to say yes. To say yes, we will figure it out, to the kid that's sitting right in front of you, to the kid that's asking for a flexible learning solution. I don't see a lot of people saying yes. That's our one amazing innovation. Honestly, that is what we've done, and that is how we've done it. That's it. All day long, I'm a yes coach. Coaching superintendents. Ask me who else I coach.
Who else do you coach?
Steering committees,
And?
principals,
What?
teachers,
No way. More?
and most importantly, my own team and me. All day long, I'm saying, I don't know. Let's look at the revised statutes. Let's look at the legislation on Carnegie units. Let's look at district policies. Let's look everywhere and anywhere until we can find, or make a new way to say yes to the flexible education option that that kid right in front of us is asking for. So every day is the Oprah show at our office. Giving out yeses like free cars. Seriously, kid from California. Moved up here, we're in Oregon, so that makes sense when I wrote it. You only need 1/4 of a credit to graduate, but that doesn't fit with our half-credit system. Guess what? Come into our office, you get a yes. Kid who has to work to support himself, high school kid, that has to miss last period every day of school in order to get to your job on time so that you don't lose that job, you get a yes. Kid whose brother is hospitalized indefinitely, I'm not gonna cry, these are all real people to me, and your family is sticking together to be by his side day and night, you get a yes. Kid whose 5th grade poetry would win an adult poetry slam and your elementary school teachers just don't know what to do with you, you get a yes. And the IB track girl, who's probably gonna be valedictorian in 2 years, but who right now needs to be in an eating disorder clinic for 90 days, you get a yes. A yes, we will figure it out. That's the yes that we give you. We will figure it out. We will meet that flexible education need and 3,000 more. So how do we say yes? With Fuel Education blended and online courses. And right now I need Renee and Greg and Bruce to stand up real quick because these are 3 of the, this was already written and I wasn't gonna do it because I didn't think you were gonna be here, but you need to stand up. These are some of the yesiest people I've ever met. Stand up! Stand up.
All right.
I don't get to say yes to 15,000 students, 3,000 a year, hundreds every day, without them saying yes to us. District who wants to try something new, repurpose a product, customize reporting, you get a yes. Seriously, that's how it works. When I was writing this in Bend, this little monologue, I was actually thinking maybe it was you guys that taught me how to say yes. So I'm last, which is awesome because the red card is up. But...
Like 20 seconds.
Oh, all right,
20 seconds.
All right, so educators, I think, and industry alike, all seem to still be wanting the tools to do the jobs that humans don't want to do. Jobs like think, muddle, and piece together solutions. But you know what? The tools don't do those jobs. We do those jobs. The tools allow us to, but only if we are willing. So that's what we've done. I know it's boring to think that mindset might actually be the only thing we need to collectively invest in at this point, but it's also totally true. So to ban the average and to radically transform the student user experience of education, all you actually need is one innovation, one person to roll up their sleeves and say yes to the kid that is sitting right in front of us. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, that was great. Trace, I really felt bad when I just said 20 seconds because I realized I was actually going against what you were talking about, and then I needed a big mindset shift. I meant to say yes. I should have said yes. So I'm sorry. I am sorry. I do want to say, just in general, this has been easily over the last 2 days my favorite thing. I really feel. more invigorated because you hear such bad news sometimes about schools. And at the end of the day, we know that it's actually not real. I mean, I taught in a really low, 100% free and reduced school district, and the parents loved the school, you know? And we have great leaders. We need to just take advantage of their ideas. So thanks for each and every one of, we know that this was just you presenting, but all the moments, all the hugs, all the sweat and tears and love, just thank you. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you. And I hope that we'll be able to take these things on and carry them on. So with that, go, say yes, do great things in the world, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.